Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi. Menachos Daf Chaf Vav. We begin at the Mishnah, which is 4 lines from the top of the It says the Mishnah Nitmu Shirea. So what happened was he did the kmitza, and the shirayim became leftover became tamei, or they got burnt or lost. Nisrafu shira, they got burnt up. Avdu shirea, the shirayim, the leftovers, got lost. They're gone. So he had a full mincha. He did the kmitza before he got a chance to be makter the kmitza. The rest, the leftover, the shirayim, either disappeared entirely or became disabled, became tamei. So the question really is, do we need them? Ideally, you have a kaimetz, which goes to the mizbeach, and the shirayim to the kaihanim. But are both components really critical to the success of the mincha, or perhaps it's enough to have the kaimetz put on the mizbeach? Are the shirayim crucial or not? So we have this old machlekes back in Menachos Pesachim between Rabbi Eliezer, who says it's not really necessary to have these shirayim. He talks about an animal, a korban. He says, look, as long as you have the dam, the blood for the mizbeach, you're good to go. Ideally, you meant to have both components, the dam for the mizbeach and the basar to be consumed, the chaylev as well. But if you only have the dam, you can go ahead with it. Be makriv zerek the dam, and you're good. According to Rabbi Yeshua, you must have both elements, something of both. You have to have some dam and some basar or some chaylev. So, by comparison, by extension, the same with a mincha, which has likewise 2 components. It has the part that goes on the mizbeach, the kaimetz, and you have the leftovers. Here you're missing the leftovers. What happens now? Could you continue and do the aktorah on the kaimetz? Kimidas Rabbi Eliezer Ksher, according to Rabbi Eliezer's opinion, that the only critical component in an animal korban is dam. Likewise, the only critical element in a mincha is the kmitza kshera. You're good to go. Or kmitza Rabbi Yeshua psula. According to Rabbi Yeshua, it's possible, because just as by the animal korban you need dam and basar to reach success, likewise over here you need kaimetz and shirayim. Amarav v'hush nitmu kol shirea. The Mishnah says that the shirayim became tamei. It's only if the entire shirayim is tamei, nothing left, then you're in trouble, according to Rabbi Yeshua. Aval mikza shirea. Let's say only part of it, you have some left over. Like, for example, you have a kazayas left over. Then you're okay, because there's some shirayim here. The Gemara at this point figured that Rav specifically meant nitma. Dafka in the case of tamei, which is the first of the 3 cases in the Mishnah, we had tamei, we had burnt, we had lost. Only when the material is still here, just the problem is it became tamei, there we say, you know what? There's some left over, you're good. Nitmain, but of it was sort of like, but in the next 2 cases, lost and burnt, even if there's some left over, it's not going to be sufficient. And the question is, why? Maika Savar. What does Rav hold? Ika Savar Shiur Milsa. If he holds that if there's something left over, it's enough to proceed. I feel over the Saraf Nami. So then, likewise in the 2nd and 3rd cases as well. Ika Savar Shiur Milsa. If he holds that a bit left over is not sufficient. Lav milsahi. V'nitma my taima. So why would he allow the case where mostly became tamei and there's some left over? Why is that okay? Why is that different? My taima, because that has a special allowance. The maratza tzitz, because the tzitz takes care of the material that's tamei, as we learned the other day, right? Yesterday. Yach, if that's the case, you're addressing it by the tzitz, then even if there's nothing left behind, even if everything becomes tamei, even if the entire shirayim became tamei, well, the tzitz overrides it, and you're good. So again, when Rav says part leftover is okay, and he seems to say it only by the nitma, why? The answer is like certainly Rav holds there's something left over, it's good enough. The nitma, and although he mentioned tumma, but he just cited that as an example, the first of the 3 cases. V'nit mu'adin of the saraf. Same exact rule would apply if there's partly left over in the case of the lost or the burnt. Why did he mention specifically nitma? Rishai Naka, they just meant the first on the list. So he cited the first on the of the three, but of course it applies to all three as long as there's something left over. Because the Sani we learned in the Bryce, even going to be Shua, you don't need the entire volume. As long as there's something left over. All karbanis and the kazayis. That's it. All you need is a kazayis basar or a kazayis chaylev. As long as you have a kazayis of the basar or the chaylev, that is enough to allow you to proceed and to be zerek as adam. Kachatzi zayis basar. Let's say you only have half and half a zayis of basar, which is meant for human consumption, together with a half a zayis of the chaylev, which is meant for the mizbeach. Kachatzi zayis chaylev. Ein zerek as adam. It's not enough to allow for zrika. You can't be metzar. You can't combine basar, which is meant for achila, with chaylev, which is meant for aktorah. That's by a regular carbon. Uba by an oil where the entire carbon, the basar and the chaylev, all goes on the mizbeach, so it's really all considered one, type of material. There you can combine half and half. Afilu kachatzi zayis basar, ukachatzi zayis chaylev. Even have a half a zayis basar, half a zayis of chaylev, you combine them, you get a total of a kazayis to allow you to do the blood application on the mizbeach, zeruk sadam. And the reason is meshukul kol, because it's all meant for the mizbeach. So there's no differentiation between this part and that part. As long as you have a kazayis in total, you're good. The Brisa concludes, ubemincha, however, by a mincha, afilu kulu ka'imas, even if it's around in its entirety, lo yizrik, you can't do zrika. Ask the Gemara, what do you mean? There's no zrika by a mincha. Zrika is blood. Mincha is not a mincha mavinta. Who's talking about a mincha? Amar papa minchas nesachim. We're speaking about an animal carbon which was brought, and all you have left is the blood, no animal left. But there is the mincha that's called minchas nesachim, which accompanies a carbon, and that's left behind. That's around. Perhaps that suffices to be considered, as though the carbon is present. I would think since the minchas nesachim accompanies it's one package with the carbon. Perhaps we treat it like the actual animal itself, and as long as that's around, you can proceed with the zrika of the animal. Kamashman, the point is no. You need something left over from the animal itself, either a zayis of the basar or the chaylev. Now the question is, who says that a kazayis of chaylev qualifies? Some say it was said mishum b'shum and chananya. Amar kra. So the pasuk after describing the act of zrika says v'hiktir ha'chaylev l'rech nechayach l'Hashem, to tell you that if you have some chaylev l'rech nechayach, that is enough to allow for the zrika. Chaylev, even if you have just chaylev, va'ava b'shein basar, even though you don't have any basar, that's enough. So again, it counts as a separate component, together with you have the dam, that's for the zrika. You have the chaylev, which is for consumption, even though it's for mizbeach consumption, that qualifies. Continues the Gemara. Va'ashchan chaylev. Okay, so certainly if there is some chaylev left, that's good enough, as per the pasuk, which mentions chaylev. What about yoseres, shtei hakloyos, other parts of the animals, the kidneys, or etc., which are meant to be put in the mizbeach manal? How do we know that they also can count? If you have some of those, the Ketani, because look, the Brisa said ubemincha afilu kulu kayemas la yizrek. The Brisa singles out the mincha. That doesn't qualify. Okay, but apparently other items do. Mincha with la yizrek. If you have just a mincha left over, you can't do zrika. But let's imply from the Brisa yoseres shtei kloyos yizrek. If you have the yoseres or shtei kloyos, that's enough to allow for zrika. Manal, how do we know that's so? Because the Brisa only mentions chaylev. The answer is like this. Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yochanan himself, who was the one who presented this, he himself explained. L'reich nechayach. Look at the next part of the pasuk. Hachelev l'reich nechayach. That additional phrase addresses even yeseres shtei hakloyos, they qualify. Kol shatamal l'reich nechayach. Even these parts, which are meant l'reich nechayach, to generate that aroma, it's meant for mizbeach consumption, that too qualifies. So the pasuk allows you to do the zrika if you have either some basar or even chaylev or even yoseres shtei hakloyos. Now, why does the pasuk have to single out chaylev and yoseres shtei hakloyos? After all, they're all meant for the mizbeach. So once you explain one, you know the other one. The Torah has to refer to chaylev, and that too. Because of chaylev. If only chaylev, I would think, chaylev qualifies. Yeseres Shtei Klei Yisrael, but not the other types. That's why Torah comes back and says Rech Nechayach. That also works. And that covers any part of the animal which is meant for the Mizbeach. Okay, so then just say this, and we already know Chaylev. Because Rachman Rech Nechayach, the Torah only say the second phrase. I would say Afilu Mincha. Anything that is placed on the Mizbeach. Even the Minchas and the Sacham, which accompanies the carbon, that also qualifies. Kos Rachman Chaylev. That's why the Torah stressed Chaylev. To tell you that even though I'm expanding with the Rech Nechayach to cover other items, but it's limited to parts of the actual animal, like the Chaylev. So Mincha, which is outside the animal, doesn't qualify. Okay, so in a nutshell, we learned that if you want to proceed with the Haktorah of the Kmitza, or the Zrika of the Dam, according to Rabbi Elazar, even if there's nothing else left, you can continue. According to Rabbi Yeshua, you must have the other part of the carbon as well. Part of the basar, part of the chaylev, or the seresh de aklayos, or in the case of the mincha, part of the shirayim. Zok the Mishnah, shaloi b'klishar is pasul. Rabbi Shimon Machshir. So initially the mincha material is placed in a klisharis, that's why it's mixed, it gets its kedusha, its initial kedusha. Then you do the kmitza, and the scoop itself is placed in another klisharis, like the Kabbalah of the Dam, right? We explained that every act corresponds to the different steps that is executed by the animal karbanos. The kmitza is like the shechita, then the Kabbalah Sadam has the placement of the kaimitz in the klisharis, then we have the walking into the mizbeach, and then placing it on the mizbeach itself. So, what happens if he fails to place the kaimitz in a klisharis? It's possible, because you're missing that step. Rabbi Shimon Machshir says even without that step it works. Just take it straight on the mizbeach. Hikter kaimitz b'mayim kshera, another halacha. Suppose he took the kaimitz, which is comprised of a certain amount of material, and he split it into two and he placed it on the mizbeach separately. In two parts. It works. It's okay. Okay. Let's go back to the first discussion. Amar Vido Breder of Chia. My time that Rabbi Shimon, why does Rabbi Shimon say that a kaimitz need not be placed in a klisharis? Amakra, the pasuk says so. The pasuk describes a mincha and compares it to either a carbon chatas or a carbon asham. What for? What's the point of the comparison? To tell you that a mincha can be executed two ways, either with a kli, like the asham, where the dam is placed in a kli, and that's what, or like the chatas, which is done manually, where the blood is placed on the mizbeach manually with his finger. So you have a choice in the matter. Amakra, Kodesh Kodashim Hi, the mincha is considered Kodesh Kodashim, and it's compared to either kechatas or keasham. And the point is to give you both options. If he chooses to just use his hands, do it manually, similar to a chatas whose blood is applied manually, then he can do so. Just make sure you use your right hand. So take the kaimitz with your right hand, put it directly on the mizbeach. You don't have to put it into a kli for kiddush. So this is Reb Shimon's source that you need not be mekadesh the kaimitz in a klisharis after the kmitz. Continues the brisa. So this is like kechatas. Bekli, if he chooses to use a kli to put the kaimitz in a kli and take it like that to the mizbeach, then he can use even your left. Do it with your left hand, like the asham, where left hand is okay. So that's Rabbi Yehuda Breder Chia's explanation in Rabbi Shimon. You have a choice in the matter. If you want to use a klisharis to mekadesh the kaimitz, go ahead. You can do it even with your left. If you choose not to be mekadesh the kaimitz and klisharis, that's also okay. Make sure you do it with your right hand, like the chatas. Rabbi Yanai Omar, he disagrees. He says even if you do it manually, you can do it with your left hand too. There's no requirement to do it with your right hand. He doesn't hold of this drush of this pasuk. Kivin should come to klisharis, as long as you do the kmitza from a klisharis, which is certainly required. Once you have it in your hands, take it to the mizbech, even with your left hand, in any which way you choose. Maleyu, maktira, afilu b'myanik, use even your belt to hold the kmitza, afilu b'mekelish acheres, which is an earthenware kli, which is certainly doesn't qualify as a klisharis. With your left hand, doesn't matter. Rav Nachman Yitzchak Amar, he disagrees entirely. He says, "Hakol ma'adim b'kaimetz sheton kiddush." Even Rav Shimon would agree to the Chacham that you have to be mekadesh the kaimitz. So after you do the kmitza, put in a kli sharis, of course, ton kiddush. But once you've done that, now you have a choice in the matter. Now you can take it out of the kli and take it up to the mizbeach. You don't need kli sharis for halacha, for aktara, right? But the initial kiddush you need. Okay, so we have three ways to understand Reb Shimon. From one extreme to the other. Either certainly you need kiddush kaimetz. Either you don't need kiddush kaimetz, you can use your hands, even your left hand. Or you don't need kiddush kaimetz, but if you choose to use your hands, you must use your right. Here comes a kasha meisve. The Brisa seems to say that you can use your right or left hand. Hekter chalav, ve'varim, ve'etzim, shehelan. So whether it's the fats, the evarim, the parts of the oil, hufaya, which shehelan, which will take it on this beach, in any which way, ben biyad, ben mikli, ben bibim, ben smoke share, right hand, left hand, yad, kli, it's okay. Same thing with the kaimetz, v'aktoiris, v'alavoyna, shehelan, which will take it up to the mizbeach. Irrespective, ben biyad, ben mikli, ben bibim, ben smoke, right hand, left hand, kli, share, they're okay. And that's a big kasha on the first opinion, which says that if you choose to use your right hand, if you choose to use your hand, it's got to be the right hand. You have to do Rav Yehuda Ridachia. Amalach. So he responds with a different explanation in the Brisa. Amalach Rav Yehuda Ridachia. He'll have to answer like this. It's Tadin Ketani. The Brisa must be split into two scenarios. One or the other. Ben bi'min b'kli. Sorry. Biyad. If he chose to use his hands, do it manually, bi'min. It must be the right. B'kli. With a kli, then you have a choice. Ben bi'min, ben small, right or left is okay. Okay, so the plain simple understanding of the Brisa seem to indicate that even if it's the hand, left is okay. Rabbi Yehuda responds, no. Tashmai comes another raya. Comes to shlemik lisharis. V'kitchay shlemik lisharis. Suppose he did the kmitza out of a kli, which was not a kli sharis. That's standard requirement according to all shittas. V'kitchay shaloi b'kli sharis. And the next step was he did the kiddush in a kli which was not a kli sharis. Strike two. And he transported up to the mizbeach without a kli sharis. It's a non-starter, it's possible. However, Rabbi Shimon, machshir matan kli. They take issue with the second point. They say, look, you don't have to place the kli. Once you did the kmitza from a kli sharis, you're good to go. You don't need to place it in another kli sharis. So that's going to be a kasha on that opinion on Rav Nachman Yitzchak, who said that even according to Rabbi Shimon, you have to place it in a kli sharis. How's he going to understand this brisa? Emo, we have to revise the brisa like this. All Rabbi Shimon meant to say was, after you place it in a kli, after which you don't need kli sharis for the halacha, etc. But of course, it has to be placed in the kli sharis to get at that kedusha. Tashmai comes another attempt at a raya. Kaimetz ton kli sharis. Yeah, a kli sharis is required for the kaimetz keitzat. So how do you do this? Kaimetz mikli sharis, umakachi mikli sharis, umal maktir mikli sharis. You do the kmitza from a kli sharis, then you place the kmitza in a kli sharis, and that's how you take it up to the mizbeach. Reb Shimon Omer Kimin should come to mikli sharis. As long as he did the first step, he did the kmitza from a kli sharis, you're done. Maloi maktir shla mikli sharis, you can proceed without a kli sharis v'day, it's okay. Apparently, you don't need to place the kaimetz in kli sharis. Again, that's a kasha. Says the Gemara, we have to revise the brisa again. Kimin should come to v'kitcha b'kli sharis. Once he did the kmitza from a kli sharis, and then place the kmitza in yet another kli sharis to give it that added kedusha. Now you're good. Malo, you maktir v'dayo. Now you can bring it up without a kli sharis. Tashmai comes another right. Kamas b'yiminai, v'nasam b'smoilai. So he did the kmitza with his right hand properly, but then he passed the kmitza material to his left hand. Get it back to the right. Yachshel liminai, as we learned before, according to the first opinion. If he's going to process it with his hands, if he's going to do it manually, it must be his right hand. Yachshel liminai. Now, while it was in his left hand, b'smoilai v'chishe, he decided to have all kinds of nefarious plans, pigol, and all kinds of, v'chishe b'aleh ben choslam kaimai, whether To process it out of the area, in the wrong time. And this was while the kometz was in his left hand. Left hand is not a qualifying, element, right? As we explained, we're going like the opinion that you have to use the right hand if you're doing it manually. So pasul ve'mekaris, even though he took it like that in his back, the mincha is pasul, but there's no karis because the machshava of pigel doesn't really take hold, doesn't take effect, because it was expressed while his left hand was tending to it, which is not the proper means of doing it. There's another girsa, bimina. However, if it was while the kometz was in his right hand properly, then he had those thoughts of choslam kaimai, so it's possible. There's no kares on choslam kaimai. However, if it was choslas manai that he had in mind, then it's a full pigel. There's kares if one eats it. Divrei Reb Reb Shimon. Okay, so that's Reb and Reb Shimon's opinion. The Chachamim say, look, you know what? Too late. Kiven shenasnei l'smoil paslasei, matnasei. Going to Reb Shimon, although we're going like the opinion that when you do it manually, you have to do it with your right hand. So even though you pass it to his left, you can put it back. Put it back to the right hand. Pass it right back and you're good. You haven't really permanently ruined the mincha. But according to Chachamim, once it was passed to his left hand, the show's over. Once he passed the kmitza to the left hand, the process, the fact that he handed it, the fact that he was nasan, he passed it, it destroyed the mincha. You know why? It aborted the whole process. My time, you know why? Because according to the Chachamim, there are several steps that have to happen. First, the kmitza from the klisharis, and then placement in another klisharis. So that corresponds to the blood flowing from the neck of the animal into a klisharis. Now, if he interrupts that process by putting it in his left hand, even if he quickly brings it back home, it's too late. It's like the blood dripped on the floor, straight out of the animal. It's over. It disqualifies the blood, as we learned back in Maseches Zvachim. My time is in the boy kedusha b'kli, because the kometz must be sanctified in the kli, and he can't interrupt the process. It has to be continuous. The small, once it was passed to the left, he gave it over to his nasa kadam shenishvach mitzaver behim ala ritzvah. It's like the blood that spilled straight out of the neck of the animal to the floor. Even if he gathers it together, it's too late. Shapasul. That's why Konta Chachamim shows over. But why does Reb Shimon allow it to go through? Apparently, you don't have to place the kometz in the klisharis, so there's no process that he's interrupting. When he passes it to his left and back to the right. They don't require the matan kli. And that's a big kasha on Rav Nachman, who says that even according to Rav Shimon, matan kli is required by a kmitza. Tiyufta to Rav Nachman to yufta. Okay, so that's... Now, the Rav Yehuda Reb Chia Mesayele, according to the first, shita that was mentioned earlier, Rabbi Yehuda Reb Chia, that if the kohen chooses to use his hand, it must be the right. Well, this Braisa says right on. It's describing exactly that. That even according to Reb Shimon, right hand is required. Okay, so Rabbi Yehuda Reb Chia Mesayele. What about that middle shita, Rabbi Yanai, who said that there's no restriction. You can use right hand, left hand. How does he learn this Braisa, which clearly requires right hand, even according to Reb Shimon? This is going to be a refutation of Rabbi Yanai. Rabbi says, you're right. I'm not going to go with this Braisa. I'll go with that earlier Braisa. Remember that Braisa which said that everything passes. I'm going to go with that Braisa. Rabbi Yanai, Rabbi Yanai, the hector. I'm going to go like the other Braisa earlier with the hector chalavim, etc., which allows the kometz in his left as well. I'm going to learn it straightforward, as per this simple understanding of the Braisa, which allows even left hand, not like the other way that we try to understand and explain it. So bottom line is, I have a Braisa which supports my opinion in Reb Shimon's position. Okay, so we have Reb Shimon's shita. We have three ways to understand it. Reb Shimon does not require klisharis. But you have to be mekalish in a klisharis, after which you can take it out and take it up in the mizbeach without a klisharis. Rabbi Yanai says you don't need klisharis for kiddush. You use your right hand, left hand. It's up to you. According to Rav Yehuda Reb Chia, you can use the choose to use a klisharis, and then you could even use your left hand to carry it, but if you choose the hand, it must be with the right hand, like the chatas. That's Reb Shimon according to the Chachamim. Of course, after the kmitza from a klisharis, that's to be placed in another klisharis, and like that, taken to the mizbeach. In the second part of the Mishnah, we learned about splitting up the kaimetz material and placing it on the mizbeach in separate pieces. Hiktir kaimetz hamayim ksher. Amar Rabbi Yishmael Levi, only in two parts, no more than two parts. It can't be smaller than that. Pa'amayim, v'loi pa'amei pa'amayim. You can't do it multiple, pieces. V'loi pa'amei pa'amayim. You can't split it into 3-4 pieces. That's too small. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, no, pa'amayim. In 2 phases, and even 3 or 4. Afilu pa'amei pa'amayim. My benai, what's this machlekes rooted in? Amar Zera as follows. 2 questions. How much material is typically found in a kaimetz? Does it need to be at least 2 kazaisim, or even less? Yesh kaimetz pachas mishnei zaisim. One question is, can a kaimetz be comprised of less than 2 kazaisim of the material? That's one question. The next question is, yesh haktorah pachas mikazais. If one chooses to place less than a kazais of material on the mizbeach at a time, is that considered an act of haktorah? Or perhaps it needs to be a shear, like a person eats, it needs to be a kazais to be considered an act of achil, perhaps the same with haktorah. So the machlekes revolves around these 2 questions. Let's Shmuel Levi Savar. So the first opinion who said, at most you can split the kaimetz into 2 pieces and put it up like that. You can't dissect it any further, because he holds, if you do any more, it will be too small, less than a kazayas. And you need at least a kazayas at a time to be considered haktorah. Ein kaimetz pachas mishnei zaysim. The starting point of a kaimetz is no less than 2 zaysim. So you're starting with 2. So that's why the Mishnah allows you to split it, because each half has a zayis. Because less than that doesn't work. Ve'en haktorah pachas mikazayis. You can have haktorah less than a kazayas. So at most, split it into 2 parts. Rabbi Yochanan Savar says, no, there's no restrictions. Yesh kaimetz pachas mishnei zaysim. To start off, the kaimetz can have less than 2 zaysim. Yesh haktorah pachas mikazayis. And likewise, when the Mishnah says you can split that into 2, because haktorah can be less than a kazayis, so even if you split into 3-4 pieces, you're okay. Now, of course, the Mepharshim point out, you can't, Taisus points out, you can't crumble it into little pieces. We learned it back on the Tezayin. That's not their haktorah, but if it's a substantial chunk, that's okay. Okay, so he's putting the kaimetz on the mizbeach, and he wants to eat the shirayim. At what point can he start eating it? Instantly? Or do we have to wait for the fire to start consuming the kaimetz, to process it and allow the shirayim for the consumption? Itmar. Kaimetz, the placement of the kaimetz on the mizbeach. At what point can the shirayim be consumed? How burnt does it have to get? As long as the fire took hold of it, got a little char, that's okay. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, so as soon as it's burnt a little bit of it, Rashi says miktsasa. Rabbi Yochanan Amar shetatas bo yasur beruba. You need much more than that. You need the most of the kaimetz to be consumed. Amar le Rav Yidel Rabbi Rav Yitzchak Asberlach. Let me explain to you a time to Rabbi Yochanan. Why does Rabbi Yochanan insist on most? Amar the pasuk by Stoim, which refers to the lashon of haktorah. V'hinei ola kitor haaretz ki kitor hakivshan. So the smoke and it's like the smoke coming out of a furnace, and we know that in kivshan malakitar, the furnace will not generate smoke unless the firewood is mostly consumed. Ashetatzis or berube. Likewise, the act of haktorah, which relates to a kaimetz, must have that same experience, mostly consumed. Amalei Rabban Barav Adel Rabba. So he told Rabba, Amri Talmidcha, your students say over in the name of Rav Amram, Amar Rav Amram. He quotes a brayso Tanya. Ein li ala dvarim shedarkan likar balayla. So what materials are meant to be in the mizbeach at night? What could be kigoy of dar? Only dvarim shedarkan likar balayla kigoy nevarim of dar, parts of the oila, fat, shemal, maktirim, vayashemesh. So those can be brought up in the mizbeach after sunset and vayashemesh. Umasakan v'ochan kalayla kulan, throughout the night they are consumed and burnt. What about dvarim shedarkan likar b'yom, things which are meant to be placed on the mizbeach during daytime? Kigoy, for instance, hakaimetz, velavayna, bakteris, mechas kan, mashiach, shuach, mechas. What about daytime materials? Shemalot and maktirim bayashemesh, can they too be placed in the mizbeach after sunset? Hold it, says, what do you mean? You just told me they're daytime. Now you tell me they're nighttime materials? V'amis darkan l'karbayim, just told me they're meant for the day. Ela im bayashemesh. The point of the brayso is to teach that perhaps even daytime materials can be placed in the mizbeach right before sunset. and let them stay on the Mizbeach and be incinerated throughout the entire night. Is that okay? How do we know that's true? All these materials, even daytime materials, are okay to be placed close to sunset and have them burn throughout the night. Now the question is, imagine you take a kaimitz, a minute before Shkia, put it on the Mizbeach. It's not going to get very far by the time nighttime arrives. You're not going to get most of it burnt. If you place it right before, you're not going to have most of it consumed by the time Shkia comes a minute later. And that's a requirement according to one opinion. Like Kashi answers like this, kan likloid, kan lahater. We're talking about lahater. At what point is the shiraim going to be consumed? For that you need most of the kaimitz burnt, properly processed. But here in the Brisa, we're not speaking about that. We're speaking about likloid. At what point does Mizbeach capture it? You see, typically, Mizbeach, carbon material stays overnight, stays past sunset, it becomes puzzle, it's lina. It's past the day of Akrava, but once it's on the Mizbeach, it becomes sort of attached to the Mizbeach, it's home, it's safe, it's sound, it's protected, it's not affected by the overnighting. What makes that connection? What triggers that safety switch? As long as you put it on the Mizbeach right before Shkia. Rabbi Lezer Maslam Miboy HaShemesh. Rabbi Lezer learned the Brisa simple, straightforward. Miboy HaShemesh. These items are placed on the Mizbeach after sunset. And the question was, what do you mean? They're daytime materials. He learns that the Brisa is speaking about, they were placed during daytime, but then during the night they flew off. They were, shot off through the fire. And the point of the Brisa is to require us to put it back on the Mizbeach throughout the night. Likewise, when he came, he quoted from Rabbi Yana, was speaking about items which tripped off the Mizbeach. And the Brisa speaks about Teiris and Levina and Kaimetz, all those must be replaced and put back on the Mizbeach. Is that true that according to Rabbi Yana was speaking about this phenomenon? Rabbi Yana himself teaches us he says, Teiris material that flew off the Mizbeach, even Kratan Sheba, even if they're substantial pieces, you don't put it back on the Mizbeach. You know why? Why? Why are we singling out Asher Teichela Esha Oila Ala Mizbeach? The Torah says, restore parts of the Oila that fell off. Ikuli Oila to Machser. You have to Machser Ikuli K'Teres. You only put back parts of the Oila, not K'Teres. So according to Rabbi Yana, the Brisa is speaking about Paikin. Why does the Brisa mention K'Teres, which is not meant to be put? Some in K'Teres have to delete Teres from the list. Okay, so we have machlokes. How much does the kaimitz have to burn up before the shirayim mutter? Even a little piece, or most of it? In terms of finding its place on a mizbeach, even a moment before sunset suffices. We have a couple of questions regarding the arrangements on the mizbeach and what constitutes a proper act of haktorah regarding a kaimitz, regarding ivarim. Rabbi Lezer used to teach, learn Menachos. He would ask as follows: he took the kaimitz, arranged it on the mizbeach, on the actual top surface of the mizbeach, and he put the firewood on top of the kaimitz. The siddur olav as mao. Does that work? Derech haktorah b'kach. Is that a proper way of doing haktorah? And it works, or maybe not. It's an abnormal arrangement. We leave it standing unresolved. But Rechizke comes another question regarding Eivarim, the same thing. Eivarim Shetzidron, he took the parts of the Oila, put on the Mizbeach, directly on the Mizbeach, and the firewood on top. What's the halacha here? And this question is more based on a pasuk. Pasuk says, put the carbon ala itzim on the firewood. That's what the pasuk says. Dafka, perhaps it's specifically that way. Or maybe not. Given the ksib karachrina, since we have another pasuk which says but the fire will incinerate the oila on the mizbeach. It sounds like it's directly on the surface. So you can do it either way. Choose your options. You can do it this way or that way. Firewood on top or on bottom. Take it. We leave it unresolved. But Rabbi Yitzchak comes another question. From Yitzchak Nafcha, Ivarim Shetzidron B'tzidam Arachamau. So he has the firewood arrangement here, and beside that, on the mizbeach itself, he put the Ivarim, not on top of the wood, not beneath the wood. Now, what's the halacha here? So it's based on the Lashon HaPasuk, which says, place it ala eitzim, right? I'll leave it to Mandama al mamish. So if you hold that al always means directly on top, literally, like there's no question it doesn't work. The ala eitzim ksiv, the pasuk says ala eitzim. Okay, so we mentioned ala eitzim or under the eitzim, but here it's next to the eitzim. It doesn't work. Actually, the Chavetz Chaim writes that this question only applies to that understanding that ala eitzim means on the firewood itself. Okay, so if it has to be on top, this is not on top. The question will arise according to the opinion discussed later in Daf Tzadik Vav that the term al doesn't necessarily mean on top. It can mean next to it also. Here it's next to the wood. So what's the halacha? Achenami al basamach. Shall we say in this case as well? Next to it is enough. Perhaps the word ala eitzim in this case certainly means on top. Why? Because it's similar to the term ala mizbeach, which is also cited in the same pasuk, which certainly means on the mizbeach, not next to the mizbeach. You don't do aktar next to the mizbeach. So just like ala mizbeach means directly on top, mahosam al mamish, right? Dumi al mizbeach, mahosam al mamish. Just like over there, ala mizbeach means literally on top. Afachadam al mamish. Likewise, when it says ala eitzim, means literally on the firewood, not next to it. Take it, we leave it unresolved. Okay, so we have three shaylos regarding the derech haktorah. On top of the firewood, or even beneath it. And then the question was, what about next to it? Okay, all the best to you and much hatzlacha.